Lee Camp, how are you doing?
Hey man, how are you? I feel like since we last talked, there
Something.
was a fascist insurrection at the Capitol.
Oh, I heard there was just like a neo-Nazi furry convention there. Is
Yeah,
that
I mean, there were definitely some furry bison horns. I mean, there's got to be. There's got to be. It's not a real party till the shirtless guy with the bison horn shows up.
with raccoon makeup? Um, yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Government Secrets, episode 24 with Lee Camp. Pew, pew, pew. Post Capital Siege episode. Um, I want to say that's clearly the craziest thing that's happened between episodes of the show, right? We can say that.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, that might be. There was the time I was bit in the ass by a poisonous snake. I think one time. But
between episodes.
this is weirder. This is weirder. Yeah, it wasn't during an episode. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Um, all right, everybody, welcome to the episode. We're going to discuss what obviously happened on January 6th, and then Lee and I each are going to have some other Capitol Siege government secrets to discuss on today's episode.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like it, yeah, listen, share, all that stuff. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, 5-star reviews, sharing this, likes, download, subscriptions, all that stuff. We're a new podcast, so get the word out.
I'm impressed how everything's breaking down into this like false dichotomy of like either you're against censorship and you're furious that Trump's banned, and you at the same time think that everything that happened at the Capitol was totally fine, or you're for censorship and you think that everything happened at the Capitol was the worst thing that ever happened in America's history. Those are your only two options. There's no in between.
America loves living out on either dumb extreme. Any subject, pick one. Any extreme, just anything. Like that's what America does. Like, oh boy, we have an obesity epidemic. Oh, you're fat shaming. No, I'm not. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm saying we should deal with that. You know what I mean? Body beautiful. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. 150 pounds overweight isn't good for your body. That's not healthy. Any doctor would say that. Oh, you hate fat. You're fat shaming. Again, I'm talking about like that's what America does. So this was insane. I mean, it was insane. It is not the worst thing that's ever happened in America. I don't know. Genocide, right. Slavery. I would put those up there. The current bombing we're doing, 85,000 dead children in Yemen. I would put those ahead of this.
My favorite on the left side of this discussion, so-called left, on the liberal side, was John Favreau. I think this is the other John Favreau, the Pod Save America guy. He tweeted out this something like this is the I have the exact tweet. His exact tweet is, "This is without question the most evil, dangerous behavior exhibited by any American president in history."
Oh, we could list off and have a good 30 countries that might disagree with you.
I feel like he's not listening to our podcast.
If he'd start listening to Government Secrets, he might go, oh, maybe all of these dozens of countries might feel differently. Because that's, again, typical in America. We are so in a vacuum because people in other countries are like, oh, yeah, this is what you guys get. You know what's happened? What happened at your Capitol building? Yeah, you've done that. You did that to ours and a bunch of other countries. You've been destabilizing countries all over the world for a long time now. And now it's happening in your own backyard and you can't handle it.
Yeah, and this actually has a lot of similarities to the attempted coups we've committed in other countries. I mean, down to the use of white supremacist, fascist militia forces, to the destruction of like the state house to make a point. It has a lot of similarity to the color revolutions we try and create in other countries. And when we try and create them, we call them democracy promotion. This is democracy promotion in other countries. And in the latest stimulus bill, the relief package, literally we spend billions of dollars in it to do this type of thing in places like Hong Kong, Iran, Venezuela, etc.
Hey, Joe Biden sided with neo-Nazis in the Ukraine to help undermine Russia. I mean, literally.
Yep. All the Democrats did.
All the Democrats did. So, I mean, and again, the complete abandonment of critical thinking by the majority of Americans, be they right, left, whatever they want to call themselves, they can't listen to I say that, and it's like, oh, Graham loves Nazis and Trump. Like, no, not what I said. Not what I said. What happened last week was pretty bad. It was pretty awful.
It was fucking awful. And the people that were the leaders of it and have been planning it online and things like that are straight up, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, militia type people looking to kill legislators. These are not just your fucking good old boy Ohio guy who likes Trump and has a Trump flag. Like, no, those people were there at around, within that march and within the thousands that listened to Trump's speech, but they weren't the ones with the zip ties on their belt headed into the Capitol.
No, they were not. That's the thing. Like, hey, not all Trump supporters who were there were trying to storm the Capitol. Yeah, but they didn't have a problem with it. I mean, one woman like got trampled by a Trump supporter, got trampled by Trump supporters, and you sent me the text. She had a "Don't tread on me" flag.
Yeah, I mean the dark humor in that one is
it's. I mean, so there's so many aspects to this, and as we discuss government, and it fits, in all of the stuff we've discussed on this show. There's so many things that. Okay, first of all, obviously Trump did incite them. He did. He's been doing this for a while. Stand back, stand by. I mean.
Even during the siege, he was still tweeting that Mike Pence didn't have the courage to overturn the votes. Like, that was while people were in the Capitol.
Yes, and Mike Pence got death threats. I mean,
they were chanting. There's video of them chanting "Hang Mike Pence." So
hang Mike Pence. Yes, there's video of them chanting "Hang Mike Pence." They have threatened any Republicans, Republicans that didn't side with Trump have gotten death threats. They were getting threatened there. Like you said, there was a guy with AR-15s, and there was serious weapons there in the Capitol, and they sieged it. And many of them were neo-Nazis. There was a guy who had an Auschwitz hat or something, and some of the just.
Where do you get those? Because I've been looking for the Auschwitz merch.
Yeah,
and
where is that stuff? And we're so. This is the hypocrisy of this country. If you're selling Muslim death to America merch online, I'm pretty sure that website's going to get shut down pretty quickly. Or at least
right.
But someone's selling Auschwitz stuff, and we're like, oh boy, it's can't seem to find them. And all the off-duty cops that were there, the cops that were taking selfies that were on duty, the cops that helped let them in. So there's all of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no way Black Lives Matter would have been treated like that. There's no way.
No. And luckily, this started my first video on this. I talked a lot about the difference between the cops in Black Lives Matter, but really any left-wing protest, anti-war protest, environmental protest, they'll send out fucking reams of riot cops if you get near the Capitol or near any Capitol in any state. So the difference is so obvious, but luckily that has now become a mainstream media discussion. They're actually having that discussion. Joe Biden talked about it in his speech. So at least that part of this story is getting some mainstream coverage, whereas there are many parts, such as our coups we create overseas, that don't get any mention.
Yeah, I mean, we really have to own. I mean. And then, so there's that. There was Nazis there, but then it's also And I said this on my show during the George Floyd protests. I said, okay, all these Blue Lives Matter Trumpers who were like, oh, they're desecrating property. I was like, oh, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. You desecrated the Capitol building and a cop is dead. You killed a cop. So,
well, right. And so I was on RT News recently, and they put some right winger on the panel. And he's saying, oh, now property desecration is such a horrible thing when you guys didn't care when it was happening to statues and Black Lives Matter was doing it. And it's like, okay, let's back up a second. There is a difference between a choice to take down a Confederate statue that represents white supremacy and racism in America. And they were put up largely for that reason. They were put up, most of them long after the Civil War in order to represent racism in America. And that is a statue. Usually most of them are far from any, legislators that are going to be harmed. This had to do with a straight up attack on the Capitol building with lawmakers there, hoping to harm lawmakers, hoping to harm or imprison or kill lawmakers. These are two very different things. And for people to act like they're the same is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's preposterous. And also but the thing I said too, I said that I go, when Trump supporters start rioting, the cops are going to be a little more lenient on, but eventually cops are going to do what cops do. And a bunch of Trump supporters got their heads knocked in, got shot with rubber bullets and tear gas. And it's like, hey, are you Blue Lives Matter people? Do you see how brutal the police can be? You got a little taste of that, didn't you? Oh, now we maybe defund the police, or what happened? Like where are you going to land on that stance? And I got to say, seeing some Trump supporters getting the shit kicked out of them by cops, I can't say I was bummed out. I was like, yeah, when you were calling all Black Lives Matter people traitors and this and that, and all this video after video after video of just people getting the shit beat out of them, or George Floyd or Jacob Blake and all that. Well, he had a criminal record, all that bullshit. So what was when you were trying to justify police brutality? So was police brutality, so which is it now? Was it justified or were they defending the Capitol because you were trying to take over the seat of power? So I want to hear what you have to say about that shit for starters. And then
right.
I also didn't lose any sleep that Republican and Democrat senators and Congress people were a little scared of I wasn't that I was like, oh, this is crazy, but just so you know, I don't know. I have so many oh shit, my screen froze up.
Yeah, so your screen froze, but I can still hear you fine. I don't know what's going on.
You can talk. I'll deal with this.
Yeah, well, in terms of the violence, you see liberal media and some on Fox News as well flipping out about the violence that took place, right? How violent this was, et cetera, et cetera. And it was. I'm fine with them having that discussion. I'm fine with them saying that those who attacked people and wanted to kill people should be punished in some way. I'm fine with that discussion. The problem is our mainstream media and our and our politicians don't have an equal freakout for the violence that is done against Americans across our entire country via our for-profit healthcare system, or via our prison, the largest prison state in the world, or do we lose Graham completely? Shit. Oh no, I think we're alone now. And now I have to pay royalties for singing that shit. Shit. I don't have $10,000. Well, if I'm still being seen by everybody, then I hope you're enjoying this loan special. Damn it, Graham. Well, I can keep talking, assuming this is still working and going smoothly. but I just did a live stream on this. Oh, there he is.
Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah.
I got very nervous. It was weird to be alone. I started sobbing quietly, and I took off my clothes. I'm putting them back on, but
I'm glad that my disappearance makes you take your clothes off. That really is what makes this show work.
Well, I was getting into a fetal position. I was going to start pouring milk over my head, warm milk. I just thought that might help. But
well, I hope at least if you're going to do that it's unsweetened cashew milk.
Of course, I would have no other kind.
Because I want the most boring, tepid milk to be poured across you so you don't freak out. Because if it's any other kind of milk, I don't know what kind of reaction you're going to have. So I need you to cover yourself in boring milk.
So what I was saying before the CIA cut off your feed is that the liberal media and some on Fox News as well are, and those in corporate media right now, corporate America as well as corporate media, are flipping the fuck out about this violence. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with them being upset about this violence. But they don't give equal time or equal mention or equal discussion to the mass violence that is done against Americans via our healthcare system or done in other countries with our bombs, a bomb being dropped every 12 minutes on innocent people, or the violence by, allowing lead pipes to make people ill across this country, or the violence done via our opioid epidemic. They don't give nearly the freak out or the time or the anger or the condemnation for all kinds of systemic violence that is both rewarded and is part of our structure. Like, I mean, it really is. It's not just that it's not condemned, it's like rewarded. I mean, if you look at things like the billions made with the opioid epidemic that's killed hundreds of thousands, and I don't think the Sacklers have lost their Twitter account.
That's such an excellent point, man, because it's like, again, it just shows the sort of selective outrage. And again, there was so much to be outraged about from last week. But like you say, all these other things that are as horrible, if not way more horrible, are met with like, well, right. I mean, it was like the force the vote thing. Like Jimmy Dore said, fuck AOC. And that was worse than 60,000 people dying every year because they don't have health care. Like somehow a comedian getting mad on YouTube that's worse. Anyone out there who was denied coverage and you died or your kid died or whatever, like that, hey, good with the bad, like it's unbelievable. I mean,
what the difference, I mean, the key to the difference is when the violence is directed at the ruling elite. Right. And that I'm not saying, so we need to be violent against these people. I'm saying that's why this gets immense coverage. And you've seen even corporate America has turned against Donald Trump. They were fine with Donald Trump through his entire 4 years for the most part. How many corporations did you hear saying we're no longer going to either, allow Trump to like his golf resorts or whatever, the PGA Tour just withdrew their connections to Donald Trump. And yet corporate America didn't do any of that throughout this entire 4 years, while Trump was caging children just like Obama, while Trump was continuing the prison industrial complex, largest prison state in the world, while Trump was continuing actually increasing the number of bombs being dropped overseas. All of that was fine. That was not a problem. The difference now is that the violence has been directed at the ruling elite as opposed to the unwashed masses.
That's such a great point too. And it's also like to see Chuck Todd on whatever Sunday neoliberal couch talk or whatever nonsense he does this week.
That's the exact name. You nailed it.
This Week in Bullshit or whatever it's called.
This Week in Neoliberal fucking horse shit. Here's your host, Tuck Chad.
Have a hot cup of propaganda because here goes Chuck Todd. They're like, we got to do something. And it's like, this is awful. And Trump has been stoking these people. Yeah. But I love the media had no nope, nothing to blame for them at all as they propped up Trump and made, when you remember in 2016 when they cut away from Bernie Sanders' speech to an empty Trump podium. Remember all those things? Remember the fact that Les Moonves said, "Hey, Trump's good for ratings." You remember all those things? When
23 times more coverage to Donald Trump than to Bernie Sanders in 2016.
Yes, 20 times more, and it's like you guys can't act like you had nothing to do with this. You know, anytime Trump did something crazy, you guys would go, "Oh my God, can you believe what Trump said?" Well, they wouldn't. Again, 4 years of Russiagating from Rachel Maddow and people like that, rather than there should have been. Why wasn't Rachel Maddow just in outrage about all the people dying every year because they didn't have health insurance? Where was the outrage over the Democratic Party cheating? Where was no one was screaming about they didn't care that the Democratic Party cheated, but then they blamed everything on Russia. Like their hypocrisy is unbelievable. And you're right. It's like this. I'm happy to see Nazis running through the Capitol, but seeing scared politicians, I was like, okay, you know, and why can't we on the left? Why couldn't we at least have that large of a protest or just surround the Capitol building for Medicare for all? Why couldn't we do that to end the wars?
Right. I would love to see. I mean, you know, I'm very much into nonviolence, so I would love to see an occupation of the Capitol where, like they did in Wisconsin, the union workers did there. You sit in where you refuse to leave until you know, demands are met. I'd love to see that type of thing. And to go back to the media just for a second, the reason you have, so the latest poll since the insurrection is that 33% of this country still thinks Donald Trump is doing a great job. So how do you end up in a place where a third of this country, and before the insurrection it's like 45% or whatever, think that this election was stolen from Donald Trump? Well, besides the fact that you have the Democrats rigging their own primaries, which then makes people think, well, if they rigged their primaries, then well, maybe they did in the general election. Even though there's no evidence of it, people think that because they rigged their fucking primary. But besides that, the media has proven, and you mentioned Russiagate, the media, our mainstream media, our corporate media has proven again and again, they are willing to give full-on propaganda just day after day after day after day after day, even if it all collapses, even if the collusion with Russia all collapses at the end, after years, they are willing to just hammer away at it. WMD, years of WMD in Iraq, hammer away at it, even if it collapses at the end. And they're willing to do this on so many major stories that they have now created a void for where truth would normally be. They have created a void where, you know, a third or a half of America just thinks that whatever they read on a blog that they like is the reality. And so it's like the mainstream media has themselves to blame for a country where whatever percent, 30 to 50% of the country believes this election was stolen.
Well, yeah, it's such a great point because everybody knows they're being lied to. In America, I don't care what background you have, what you think, your political, everybody knows this is bullshit. So then, like you say, there's this mass void, which is where like QAnon can slide in and go, oh, here's the truth. And if you're, you know, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, you're going to go for QAnon. You're going to say, oh yeah. And they prey upon that, which is all by design. It's the reason why we have bad schools is so people are easily manipulated. Like what's that quote from William Casey? When Americans don't believe anything, then we know we've succeeded, or whatever that quote from him is. It's like, so because
Joe Biden's head of global media for his transition said that he's a fan of propaganda and he believes our government needs to use it against our own people more often.
Well, it's working because great. It's going great. I mean, that's the thing too. Like everybody thinks they know they're being lied to. So they're grasping at straws for the truth. That's why a certain percentage of people are like, COVID's it's not real. The hospitals are stacking up. We have the highest death rates. No, they don't. Even people have been lied to so much. Like most people, when they get into a COVID ward and they're dying, they're like, oh shit, this is real. Most people do that. There's still a percentage of people who have been like, you're dying of COVID, sir. This is your last breath. No, I'm not dead. Like, okay. Like, it's just,
well, at least you want to go all the way out, sticking to your ideas.
Go big or go home. Don't ever change your stance.
Don't ever change.
Don't ever change. Keep being, just go. Whatever it is, go. Like, if you don't believe in science around COVID, then maybe gravity isn't real and you should test that out on a cliff. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Gravity is just a theory. All right, Graham. It's just a theory of gravity.
Theory. I prove
theory. Everybody should try jumping off a tall building just to make sure.
Yeah, it sounds like some fake news to me. I jump off
I watched a documentary on that daredevil guy who created his rocket to get into the atmosphere to prove the Earth was flat,
right.
And then died.
Sorry.
It's the Darwin Awards. It really is the Darwin Awards.
Darwin Awards.
It's the Darwin Awards. You die. If you die in a Trump stampede, getting run over while holding a flag that says "Don't tread on me," you win some Darwin Awards. But no, he literally there was more to him. He was more of a daredevil than he was a flat earther, but he decided to tie himself to the flat earth movement and actually had a GoFundMe to raise money to shoot a rocket into the upper atmosphere to prove that the earth was flat. And then he died. Maybe because he didn't calculate for the curvature of the earth.
Oh God. So I guess, my question, and I've been asking myself this, friends of mine have been asking, I mean, to hear the mainstream media go, wow, Black Lives Matter was treated 10 times worse. That's a good thing to come out of this. To hear some people all right, we got to hold Trump's craziness accountable and all these corporations. But again, all these corporations that had no problem profiting from Donald Trump prior to last Wednesday. Do you think America is going to learn from this? Do you think there's going to be wow, that Capitol siege, man, a lot of big changes are coming. And because I've heard mainstream media go, boy, we need more election integrity. We need there be transparency in our elections. So people don't sit there and think, because that was the main reason for that protest and that siege, was they think the election was stolen. So I heard calls for that on corporate media. I heard Fox News being critical of the Republicans and Trump. So
yeah, it depends on what they do with let's have more election integrity. If this gets rid of the touchscreen machines that no one can see inside of, and the code is top secret, then that would be a benefit. Normally, though, when they say changes are needed, they then use it for the fucking their corporate gains. So one of the changes that everyone's saying is needed in liberal media is more censorship on Twitter or whatever, which yes, it will absolutely be used against you and me. But a lot of people don't realize it's already being used against you and me and leftists and left-leaning sites. We've talked about it before, but I've been shadow banned to an extent on Facebook for 4 years now, and so so it absolutely will be used against those of us who are anti-war, those of us who are anti-corporate America. So yeah, it's not that we need more censorship; it's that we need these platforms to be accountable to the people. They need to be public utilities, or they need to we need to have a digital bill of rights where you can't just be banned because they so chose. I would support the banning of Donald Trump if they had a standard policy across all of these platforms that if you've killed thousands of people, you can't have an account. I'd be totally down for that. I'd be like, yeah, you killed a few thousand people, a couple hundred, we'll let it slide, but a few thousand people, and you don't belong on Twitter. The problem is, the reason they wouldn't state that or give us that right is because then Hillary Clinton's gone, Obama's gone, all these people are gone who are war criminals and have killed thousands, and the Koch brothers would lose their Twitter account. It'd be a real. They don't want to do that. So instead, they're banning Trump for causing harm to the ruling elite. That and you know, this is what changed with like Martin Shkreli, right? When Martin Shkreli was just fucking increasing drug prices and killing people that way, there was some talk about it, but there was no repercussions. It was when he lied to investors that the rich got hurt. Yeah. That was when Martin Shkreli was arrested. Same with Bernie Madoff, right? Yep. That's why he was the one to go down. He hurt rich people.
Because what Bernie Madoff did was a smaller version of what the banks did in the housing crisis in 2008.
Right.
But Bernie hurt rich people. The house, Goldman Sachs and them, they killed, they hurt regular people. So it's okay as long as if you just can't hurt the elites. Because definitely we're already seeing, and Biden is going to use this. And there's going to be way more censorship. I mean, Susie Dawson had her Twitter account pulled for like a day, and there was, everybody went on there was an outcry or whatever, and Twitter put her back up. But they're going to come after us more for sure. I mean,
well, and taking down all of Parler, that site, that's dangerous as well, because that means if you create a more unfiltered, more free site, people talking about creating blockchain versions of, similar to Twitter that would, stop things from being banned unilaterally. Then if they stop, they've created a world where we all operate on one of 2 to 3 phones. And if those phones or operating platforms like Google pull the fucking apps, then it's over. That's it.
No, you're right. I mean, like you and I are both on Rockfin, which is blockchain cryptocurrency platform. I love Rockfin, but I don't know, could they shut Rockfin down? It might be hard because it's blockchain. I don't know the technology behind that, but like they are going to use it against us for sure. And the problem is because these were right-wing. And there were some scary people there, and these militias and people have been like, oh, that's not that big of a deal or whatever. Or,
I don't claim it's not a big deal. I don't want it to be used for mass censorship.
It will though. That's the unfortunate thing is because it was a big deal. Then when people get scared, then they're more willing to give up their rights. Like we saw that after 9/11, everybody was scared. 9/11 was crazy. It was awful. So people were like, surveil everything. Yeah. Take away my rights. And so they're going to start censoring. They're going to want more police. I mean, like this is a crazy, because hearing some people like sort of the liberals be like, we need more censorship and, we need more police or whatever. You're like, wow, man. Okay. So I don't know. It's in America, because it's so heavily propagandized, it's been so effectively divided and propagandized that America won't realize we're in a class warfare, but Americans don't realize that and Americans don't want to learn. I mean, the reaction to Jimmy Dore's force the vote thing was like, wow. All right. So I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith. Because even the so-called, we don't even have like that force the vote thing just showed that the left is like a handful of us. And then everyone else is just like these dumb fuck liberals that are they get in the way. They get in the fucking way and they refuse. They will not hold, but they all, I guess. So I don't see anybody. I don't know. Like the thing now, at least, okay, the Democrats, by the way, what happened last week also, they got control of the Senate. So I was like, there's no excuses now. After January 20,
I know
the House, the Senate, and the White House. You can't blame Trump and Russia and Burn Bros and whatever else. You guys have.
They still will. Actually, that's some of my favorite is when they're talking about the fucking attack on the Capitol, and somehow they managed to slip in Putin. Like it just somewhere you'll turn on MSNBC and they'll be like, "Look, this is horrific. What's happened to our nation's capital?" And Putin must be enjoying it. And you're like, how did you make this about Putin?
Somehow they made it about Putin. And it's just like, is he enjoying it? Yeah, probably. But there's probably 40 world leaders really enjoying this, watching because we fucked with all of their countries. So, and they might also Putin might be terrified. Like, oh God, if America just goes up in smoke, I was in Russia when it went up in smoke in the 90s. So what's going to happen?
You know who else enjoyed it was apparently a third of America. So, Maybe you should be talking about that. And that's and we can move on to our coup stories here in a minute. But that's something else that you can't really talk about, which is I can find a lot of these people horrific. And by the way, I'm in DC, so our office is the Redacted Tonight studios are blocks away from where all this went down. And going out on the sidewalk, it's all just people with giant Trump flags, and I'm waiting to see if any of them are going to punch me in the face or anything. So it's not like it's fun, but I think that as with 9/11, you can be like, what happened is horrific. Also, let's find out why these people are this mad.
Right.
Let's look in to what's going on across America that has caused these people to want to do this. And then you start talking about inequality, and you start talking about how people's lives have been destroyed. And it's not justifying it, but it's understanding it. And we can't, on mainstream media, they can't have that discussion. They cannot have the discussion as to what were the foundational events in this country that allowed for this bullshit, awful, racist fucking shit to rise up. And to Trump to begin with, Trump is a boil that you see, but he's a symptom of the conditions that allowed this to happen. And they will never have that discussion.
Well, and the sad reality why I don't see America having this big awakening is because I thought there was going to be a big awakening after 9/11. Because I remember saying that after 9/11. 9/11 was awful. It was horrible. But why, look at in 2001, I go, look at our 3 decades lineage in the Middle East, or 4 or longer. I was like, look what we've done. Look what helped create this environment. We backed the Mujahideen against the Soviets, and then we just left, and then they had all of our weapons, and then they became the Taliban. Like, we've done this.
So you didn't think the end result was just going to be 2 fingers in the cavity search from the TSA? You thought you thought we'd do something else to try and deal with this?
Yeah, I thought it would be more than just have to take my shoes off when I get on a plane. I thought maybe we would have gone, let's get off of Middle Eastern oil. Let's stop intervening in no, we didn't do any of that. We just bomb. And then, Obama's going to save us because Bush is just a, oil guy, bomb guy. Obama comes in and bomb. So we're all just bomb bombers. So America has learned nothing. It refuses to learn. And like any addict, we're dealing with an out of control drug addict. That is America. And addicts that are out of control have no problem blowing up other people's lives.
I can't remember whose quote this is, but it's if history has taught us anything, it's that we don't listen to history.
If there's one thing to take away from this, is that we will never learn.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I especially watching the last year and a half, a year ago, have been cautiously optimistic. Wow, Bernie's raising more money than he ever has. And he might win the first 3 states.
You thought they'd let Bernie have the nomination? Come on.
I thought if he didn't get it, people would no, and not stand for it. But we can't. I mean, the left can't organize to do shit. The right organizes like they did Wednesday, but for dumb crap and dumb reasons. And then when they do it, we're going to go in the Capitol building and steal a podium and take selfies. Wow. Fantastic. You really thought that through, gang. Really, that was a fantastic.
Hold on. I thought it was whoever had the podium runs the government. Isn't that how it works? It's like holding the conch in Lord of the Flies. If you have the
Lord of the Flies, yes.
If you have the podium.
Yes, I'm the leader now. I've got the podium. Yes, it is like capture the flag. So in that regard, they were very effective. Yeah, it's just like America, and not just because the left isn't gonna, like you say, when 9/11 happened, people just said, bomb them all. Nobody wanted to learn why. And this horrific event that happened last week, and people are still dying from it. It's awful. There's been a suicide. It's awful. But the left is not going to go, what made these people this angry? They're just going to go, it's all Trump's fault. It's like, no, he couldn't. if people were financially taken care of in this country over the last 2-3 decades, if they had health care and jobs hadn't been shifted away by people like the Clintons and the Bushes, he never would have been able to rally these people together. I remember David Duke in the 80s. He never even got close. He never got close. But things have gotten worse in this country. And so if we don't look at what created this, and then if we have 4 years of neoliberal bullshit where no real change happens, imagine last week if rather than just a coked up tanning salon narcissist in Donald Trump, you had an actual ideologue who was cunning and planned a coup the way other dictators have planned coups, because you have an ideologue that could have really rallied those people.
It was the plan. It wouldn't take that much more for this. I mean, honestly, like a few Republican lawmakers in some of these states deciding that they'll just, send in a different group of electors, and it's closer than people think. And the fact that they didn't put any cops around the Capitol or whatever, the no National Guard. And then if the National Guard had said, we're just taking orders from Trump from forevermore, and if the Pentagon had gone with him, it could have turned very easily. He was closer, I think, than a lot of people realized to just kind of running roughshod over this election. But yeah, that's because it's like people are suddenly waking up to the idea that our democracy is fragile. It's like, yeah, it's always been really fragile because we've never really had one. It's been a corporate oligarchy, or before corporations, just an oligarchy of a business class that basically ruled things. And the only difference is a slight shades of gray as to which one of that ruling class takes over.
I know, it's like people don't realize if Trump was smart and really wanted to stage a coup, he could have. I mean, literally,
if he hadn't said all those awful things about the military, and they actually liked him.
Yeah. If he was like planning this, like got some key generals, and like you say, the National Guard, I'm deploying the National Guard. And then the National Guard is like, we're taking over. And these Republicans are like, we're doing this. It could have been really bad, but he's just too dumb. He's too Wendy's or whatever. And
he's too dumb, and it's all about him. So he hasn't been thinking, how can I get the military to obey me by treating them well and being nice to them? He just insults the military and thinks, well, they're losers, because he wasn't in the military, so therefore they're losers. And he literally went to whatever it was, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier or wherever he was, and said, why are we here? Aren't these all the losers? So because it's just about him. So he's like the lead in a lot of ways. He's very not Machiavellian.
He's the opposite. He's a frat boy that thinks Machiavelli is like an EDM DJ.
He thinks Machiavelli is like the sweet sauce they put on top of the $100 desserts at the Trump Hotel.
Yes, give me some Machiavelli across that chocolate.
Just you know what? Don't go easy on the Machiavelli. Just pour it on there. Yeah, he wants power at all cost, but he doesn't understand how to rig the systems around it. And most of the rigging of the systems he's done has come from Steve Bannon, I think, not from him. So, or one of his other goons. But anyway.
But that's the thing. And dumb liberal Democrats who think Biden, you need to understand this. If Biden there's no real change after 4 years and things are still shitty economically and he doesn't pull it, we're going into an economic collapse because of the COVID, right? So that's coming. If Biden doesn't pull us out of that, the Republicans are going to spew out somebody worse. How could you be somebody worse than Trump? You remember when everyone said George W. Bush was the worst guy ever? Now he's pals with Michelle Obama and Ellen. You get somebody who rallies these people together, but has a plan. Not just, I'm number one, I'm the best, everything I do is great, give me some cocaine, then
But by the way, that's the second time you mentioned cocaine. He's really snorting like fen diet pills. So be easy on the guy.
He just sounds like a guy that's coked up at a party.
Well, he is. He's like literally these like diet pills from the 90s are basically speed. And he's been apparently, or at least there's a lot of people who have said that he's been on these things since like the 90s. Like,
I wouldn't doubt it, because he just sounds like some guy that comes up that's all on something at a party that just tries to talk you into some crazy business plan. You know, like, let's build a spaceport. Fucking do it, man. Fucking, we'll buy Iceland. Let's fucking buy Iceland. You want a road trip to Iceland? Let's buy it. Build a wall. Let's do it. Like, what?
Hold on. You mean you don't send 3,700 tweets at 4 a.m.? That's not your normal routine? You know, because I just put it in my schedule. I'm like, wake up at 3:58, craft 1,700 tweets, pass out again at 4:35.
Oh, all right. What's your first coup, Gov't?
So this fits pretty well with what we're talking about, which is this is kind of the unknown to a lot of people coup attempt in America.
It's coup attempt.
Segment number 2, kind of.
Maybe kind of dovetailing into what we were talking about.
So this is a coup attempt in the 1930s against FDR that very few people know about, and it has to do with our friend, yours and mine, Smedley Butler, who was. So we've talked about Smedley Butler before, although I think we should do a long segment on him at some point. Yeah. But he I think to this day he's the most decorated Marine that has ever lived. And so Marines still to this day like know Smedley Butler's name because of that. Major General Smedley Butler. But however, the reason you and I know his name is because he came out later and said all of the wars he did were for capitalism. He destroyed whole nations in order to help the United Fruit Company and things like that. So that's why he's become a hero of anti-war activists. But he wasn't, at least he wasn't known for that yet in the 1930s. And he was still this highly decorated major general. And in 1933, the business community was turning against FDR, both because he was saying all these things needed to be done for the labor community, for the workers, like the New Deal, which the business community did not like. However, apparently the biggest thing that they were upset about that led them to craft this plan was him proposing getting off the gold standard, which they felt would hurt their money, which is hilarious because now that we're off the gold standard, they just print as much as they fucking want. But so this is
maybe that might work.
So nowadays, so nowadays this is called the business plot is what it's called. And it involved very rich, highly respected names like Robert Sterling Clark, Grayson MP Murphy, and Prescott Bush, the father of George H.W. Bush, grandfather of George W. Bush.
Wait, that almost feels like that the Bush family's been oligarchs for generations.
Yeah, it almost feels that way, and kind of like the Kennedys.
And then his son became head of the CIA, who then became vice president and president.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. And then the dumbest of all of their sons then became a 2-term president. So
who's grandpa's little moron? Who's grandpa's little moron?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's amazing. Like George W. Bush is like the bane of George H.W. Bush's existence because he was the dumb son. George H.W. really wanted Jeb to be president, and then the fucking moron son becomes president, and he's like, Jesus. Now they're gonna think that's all we are.
Oh, yep.
He's like, but in fact, we are very intelligent supervillains. This dope doesn't understand. So
it's kind of like Kylo Ren. Anyway.
So those business men, including Prescott Bush, contact Smedley Butler, who's out. He's already left service, but he hadn't come out against his service yet. So he's viewed merely as a highly regarded military man. And they basically talked to him about ways that he would gather the military, get the military behind him and them, and take over the country. Basically, create a fascist government for America, and kick out FDR, and it would be a straight up coup. But so Smedley Butler, because he was starting to think differently about his military service for the American empire, pretended to go along with this so that he could get all of their plans out of them, and got a second person to be at one of the meetings so that they could verify what was being said. And then he goes to Congress and he gives testimony that this has happened. And back then it was known as the White House coup or the Wall Street putsch. And but Congress largely just like shrugged it off. But the fact that it had been revealed basically ended the hopes of these high-powered businessmen that they could get the military to turn on FDR. And the media, doing their duty to protect the empire at the time in 1934, said, "Oh, Smedley Butler doesn't know what he's talking about. He made it up, and it's just some craziness he came up with." However, recently, in the last, I can't find the year right now, but it's within I think the last 30 years, 20 or 30 years, other documents have been revealed, basically proving this, that he did have these meetings with these businessmen, and it seems highly likely. I mean, considering what kind of person Smedley Butler was, that this is absolutely accurate. And Wall Street basically was looking to create a fascist coup to get rid of FDR.
Well, you just got to love them. They're just such forward thinkers, the business guys. You know what I mean? Like they think out of the box. That's what you got to do to be an entrepreneur, Lee.
They're always thinking. That's the thing. They're always thinking.
They're always. I mean, the one thing I hear when I hear about that, and I'm like, good for Smedley for coming forward. But here's what you got to do, Smedley. If I had a time machine, go back in time I'd pull Smedley aside. Go, okay, when the next time you have a meeting with all these heads of guys, get some of your military buddies to round them up and just take them out.
Yeah.
Because they control everything. So
listen, I can't explain it all right now, but Prescott Bush will give birth to the head of the CIA. It'll be horrific. And then he'll give birth to a fucking idiot, just a complete, cross-eyed moron who will then lead America for like 8 years.
Marty, it feels like a back. Yeah. Marty, you gotta go help Smedley. Like,
I can't explain it all now. Just trust me on this.
Just when they're all meeting, whatever secret, just arrest them, take them out, poison their tea. I don't care what. Just get rid of these guys. They're awful. Their offspring are going to be 40 times worse. Just do it. Oh. And if anybody does get a time machine and you do that and you go back, remember, you got to go. Hurry. We don't have much time. Every time machine movie I've ever seen, they're completely out of time. We gotta quick. There's a lot of running. There's always a lot of running. It's like, just go back a year before that and sit around and slowly do your plot. Yeah, just move the dial on the machine to give yourself a little breathing room to figure it out. adjust to the new time. You're in a new time. The culture's different. Probably the language is a little different. Just why do you got to like get me back 4 minutes before? No, get it here.
4 minutes should be plenty to kill baby Hitler.
Or take out Grandpa Bush. All right, unless you have more, I got mine.
No, go for it. Go segment 3.
Government secret segment 3. Wow,
that got to a Law and Order SVU there.
It really did. Yeah. It just
dun, dun.
Presented by Dick Wolf. Make sure everybody hit the like button and support our show. Download it. Do everything you can to
make. And we need you all. If you started listening to the podcast in the last few episodes, go back and listen to all the others. Yes. And then, because we got to know that everybody's up to date. Because you won't understand anything if you hadn't heard the other ones. So go listen to. I'm kidding, but go listen to all the other ones. And you don't even know Graham's character got killed off in the 3rd episode and now came back. He took a time machine and saved himself.
I did take a time machine and save myself. But unfortunately, something happened to my Nissan Leaf. So if you haven't heard that story arc, you need to go back and listen to that. Starting in November.
It's a 7-episode story arc. That was our longest story arc.
It was our 7-episode story arc about Graham's Nissan Leaf. So you need to know what's happening. And you need to know the history of these expensive sound effects that we have.
I mean, you're probably wondering why he has a hook for a hand, and you'll have to get that from the Nissan Leaf story.
And it's not what you think. I'm actually a pirate. All right, so this is interesting because I want to, and I'll actually share this. I found out about this because, well, first of all, shame on me for trusting the corporate media. When it all was going down on Wednesday, someone was like, this hasn't happened since the 1800s that somebody sieged the Capitol. Like the British did or something like that, right? And no, that's not true. That's not true.
Well, they were actually, I heard that too. Yeah, they were saying since 1812, no one's ever attacked the Capitol.
That was the last time, was the War of 1812, which is the war with the second war with Britain, where we actually almost lost, and it wasn't even the Revolutionary War. It was that war that really could have had a difference. But so I'm just going to read this. A shooting in the House chamber on March 1st, 1954, while members gathered on the House floor for an upcoming vote. 3 men and 1 woman entered the visitors' gallery above the chamber and quietly took their seats. All 4 belonged to the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party and only hours earlier had traveled from New York City to Washington, D.C. The United States had annexed Puerto Rico. I'm sure that's a fun government secret we could go. I'm sure they did it in a nice, kind way and nothing awful happened.
I imagine everybody in Puerto Rico said, please annex us.
Please annex us. I'm sure it wasn't a bunch of business guys going, hey, there's stuff there we need. We're going to take it. And the island's relationship with the federal government had long been a point of contention. Some Puerto Ricans sought to maintain the relationship with the mainland, and others, like the 4 visitors in the House that day, argued for an independent Puerto Rico. The Capitol had few security protocols at the time, and the 4 Puerto Rican nationalists.
Apparently, it had few today.
Yeah, last week it just had a couple of security guards and a loose fence is what it had.
Last week it had those mall cops where they don't have any weapons. It's just a walkie-talkie that they keep yelling louder in.
Yeah.
And then eventually they throw the walkie-talkie at you.
Yeah. And they have a stern warning. Hey, you better not, or I'm going to get on my Segway. So they had few security protocols.
Really has anyone made that meme yet with just Kevin James defending the Capitol on the Segway? Paul Blart.
If they haven't, please, audience, make this now while I'm speaking. So they had few security protocols, and the 4 Puerto Rican nationalists entered the gallery armed with handguns. Again, sounds very familiar. Around 2:30 p.m., they indiscriminately opened fire onto the House floor and unfurled a Puerto Rican flag in a violent act of protest meant to draw attention to the demand for Puerto Ricans' immediate independence. 5 congressmen were wounded in the shooting. Members, House pages, and police officers quickly helped detain 3 of the assailants outside the gallery, while the 4th escaped the Capitol and was apprehended later that afternoon. The commemorative 65th anniversary of this event, the Office of House Historian collected oral histories with eyewitnesses, including House staff, pages, and police officers. And then this website, you can listen to the firsthand accounts of the surprise attack if you go to this website that's in there right now. So that is the...
And Puerto Rico got independence.
Sadly, no.
Yeah, not so much.
That didn't happen. But that... And again, it's one of those things. One of the reasons why I love doing the show. I learned about that like 4 days ago.
Was it? You're saying it was because you said it wasn't, it hadn't happened since 1812, and someone said, "Wait a second." Actually, 4 Puerto Ricans and took there, and one guy shot, and they said they shot into the ceiling. They weren't shooting at Congress people, and they did it deliberately just to get. And they went there to get arrested, to get their cause heard. They went to just like, look, we're pissed off. We're shooting into the ceiling, and we want to get arrested. And we want, our cause. They shot some people, right? They were wounded.
Well, that's what's murky.
Oh.
Because the people who did it that are still alive
fell from the ceiling when they shot into the ceiling.
Yeah, there might have been that. They claim, we were opened fire on, but their protesters are like, no, we deliberately shot into the ceiling. So of course it's disputed, but it happened, and we've never talked about it. We've never heard about it. I literally never heard about this till I saw this on the internet last week.
I think most Americans, including, what was it, Donald Trump, while in office, had to be informed that Puerto Rico was an American territory.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I think they were talking about the hurricane bearing down on it, or a hurricane disaster that had happened, and he basically was like, why do I care? And they were like, it's part of America, sir. What?
Like, I had no idea. Somebody sent it to me on Instagram or something like that. I'm trying to find who sent it to me. But anyway, yeah, this happened in 1954. So nobody knew about it.
Did not know.
Yeah, you didn't know.
That's what this show is about.
What's that?
But that's what this show is about.
It's all about Gov't, kids. You didn't know it. Now you do. Now you do. You're more informed, and you understand how awful America really is. Yeah.
You learned about 2. I guess the Puerto Rican one. If they just wanted to bring attention to the cause, that doesn't count as a coup attempt. But a
coup attempt, but an insurrection at the Capitol.
Yeah, insurrection at the Capitol. I was debating with the always amazing Eleanor Goldfield, and she was making some great points that what just happened was not a coup attempt either. But there's an argument to be made that Trump was trying to create a coup, although he's in power. So I don't know if you can coup yourself, but he was trying to put a coup in place for 10 days from now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's like, yeah, was it a coup attempt? Was their intention to do that, to take over the government and keep Trump in power?
There definitely was intention to overturn the election result.
Right.
Which would have, if they succeeded at that, kept him in power. But
feels like a coup to me. But again,
it's kind of like, but he's in power right now, so it's kind of like sexual assault. Can you sexually assault yourself? I don't know. I don't know if he can coup himself. I don't know.
I committed my own coup. It was the best coup that's ever been committed. We had a rave. We stole a podium. We're number one.
I brought down my government and replaced it with me. I win.
Jesus Christ.
And by the way, for those who think this is over, and I highly recommend no one attend the inauguration because there are all these postings of these militias that, you know, we're going back on the 20th and everything. And literally they have like plans out there where they're like, all we need is 10,000 people or 4,000 around the White House and 4,000 around the Capitol. And we'll be able to hold these structures and only allow in and out whoever we want. And you're like, this is, now I hope they have more than Paul Blart on January 20th, because these motherfuckers, are not. I don't think they're done behaving like fucking idiots.
What do you think's going to happen? Honestly, you live in DC. You saw it, some of it, you know, from Wednesday. What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I mean, there's no doubt you're going to have a certain number of fucking awful human beings that are going to come. I don't know what I don't know what they can achieve, or, you know, it obviously the worst case scenario would be if any of them decide their goal is to just hurt any random people they can find, because that's probably the type of thing that it doesn't matter the police presence. It'd be tough to stop that, you know, but terrorism anywhere in the world is tough to stop. But, you know, I don't think luckily, I don't think they have the numbers to do anything like take over one of the buildings, but that doesn't mean they can't cause horrible things to happen. I mean, I was in Charlottesville. It took one guy in a car, you know, nearly hit me, and obviously hit 30, 40 people, killing one. And that's one fucking idiot in a car.
Yeah, I mean, they had pipe bombs at the RNC and apparently the DNC. So, yeah, I'm just like, if they really want to put some planning and forethought into this, it could be really awful. Or just like you say, just random psychos just driving cars and blowing shit up. I mean, like the suicide bomber type thing that happens with the terrorists. If there's some crazy shit like that, I don't know.
But you're not. I mean, you're never gonna stop this type of thing, or it's incredibly difficult to stop. So I think the key is, how do we create a society where this is incredibly uncommon? And part of it comes down to education. Part of it comes down to media. But a lot of it comes down to, you know, we live in a post-scarcity world where no one needs to fear that they have housing or food or clothes or can take care of their family. If we really set up our society right, nobody would have those fears. And I think if you don't have those fears, you have probably a far more peaceful society.
Yeah, we could provide for every single person on this planet. We really could. And we could educate them, and we could have really wonderful societies where we resolve disputes in a really democratic way, and where we're actually a society, like working together, asking the question, what's best for all of us? But America's, you know, capitalist, out of control consumerism fueled by these ruling elites' greed. We don't have a society. We don't have anyone where everyone's just in it for themselves. And we've seen through the CARES Act and pandemic that they don't give a shit about you, man. They don't care. They don't care about us. They don't care. The Republicans don't. The Democrats don't. They don't care. So,
well, yeah. and as some people have made the point, or although not enough, everyone's in it for themselves by design. Right. People buy more, shop more. They feel insecure more, which causes them to shop more and buy more if they are basically alone, or alone except for their tiny family unit, atomizing everyone and forcing them to just entomb themselves in the stuff they've bought is a better way for these companies and the people at the top to make trillions of dollars, whereas communities together, where the working together, housing together if needed, and really making sure no one's suffering. If you have a community, then you're generally not going to be as good of a consumer as they say. Right. You won't be a great consumer. You might just be living a happy life.
Oh, God forbid. Oh, sounds like, that sounds horrible, living a happy life rather than just being in debt and thinking a new fucking car is going to make you feel better. You know, and the other thing, the real reality is there's no real leadership to push for these mass societal changes that we're talking about. Definitely not within the Democratic Party. The progressives within the Democratic Party are the weakest bunch of fucking applesauce eating sad sacks that I've ever seen in my life.
Applesauce eating.
Like the apples are too hard. Like they just seem weak about everything. So
in the little plastic cups that they bring.
The spoon's too cold. So I don't know. We need real leadership too, because if you had real leaders, I think people, especially
fucking unsweetened cashew milk Democratic Party is the worst.
They're the most unsweetened cashew milk Democratic Party I've ever seen. And then God forbid you call out the squad. They're not living up to don't alienate our allies. Well, if they're not fighting for the things they said they were going to fight for, the things that we all helped them get fucking elected on, then they're not your ally, you dipshits. I'm not naming names, Kyle Kalinske, it's Justice Democrats, but fucking let go of it. They're done. They don't care about you.
That's the problem is a lot of these people that claim to be left media, they seem to think their job is to just defend the slightly more left senators and Congress people. No, that's not your fucking job. Your job is to demand the things that were the reasons you put them into office. Like they're bending over backward with everything that these, the squad or whoever says to defend it. Like your job's not to defend them.
I know. Like Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, and any of those other Republican shitheads have never promised to do a fucking thing for me. So I'm not mad when they don't do a fucking thing for me. The squad said they were going to do things for me. They're going to fight. I saw AOC speak twice at a Bernie convention, at a Bernie rally. She said, fight for this. We can pull out the quotes. We can pull out the tweets, all the things that she and the squad have said, and they're not doing it. So they're not it's mystifying. It's mystifying to me that people are still like, don't be mean to them. Yeah, go fucking you applesauce eating, cashew milk. You're the worst. Like, oh my God. Like what? Like, do you even eat spicy food? Can you even handle that? Fucking unreal. Anyway. Well,
I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain.
That's our show.
That's our show.
That's it. I'm done. Well, Lee Camp, where can people watch all of your...
Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. I have another podcast called Common Censored with Eleanor Goldfield. I also have a TV show called Redacted Tonight. There's plenty of different websites, but the main place is leecamp.com. You can get it all there.
Right on, everybody. And of course, please like, subscribe, positive reviews for Government Secrets. If you're listening to it, if you're watching it on either one, we put the video on Lee and our independent YouTube channels. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And then, of course, I'm at grahamelwood.com. And my Russia doc is going to be out this week to all the people that donated on Indiegogo.
Nice.
You'll get it first. And then after that, people at the $10 Patreon level and people Rockfin Premium, you'll get it next. And I'll let it stay on those two platforms for probably a couple weeks or a month. And then in about a month, I will I'll put it out in the wild and let it run free. So
you're not supposed to tell them that. You keep that part a secret and you make them all pay. And then you tell them later, now it's free. It's a surprise.
It'll never be free. So we're in a pandemic. Like if your money's tight, just wait for a month.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? And then
you're being one of them. They're nice guys.
I know. I'm being transparent. I should just fucking.
If you don't pay, you'll never see it.
You're gonna die.
That was going to be the title initially.
If you don't pay, you're going to let Trump become president again. Yeah, I'm just going to neoliberal scare tactic you. Trump is the first time we've ever had evil in the White House. So thanks for watching Government Secrets. Government Secrets, episode 24, end music. Government Secrets is ending.
Best end music ever.
I paid so much money for it. I had a composer, and that was like an orchestra of 500 people just made that music. It cost us 30 grand.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
We're a little over budget, but I think we're going to make it back on the show.
All right, man. I will see you in a week.
All right, buddy. Take care. Stay safe.
You too.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.